Hello. Today's episode number 99 of the Professor Slots podcast discusses a range of questions a slots enthusiast like yourself wants to know. Plus, in this episode, I'll be covering the current state of slot machine casino gambling in the great U.S. state of Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining me for the Professor Slots podcast show. I'm John Friedel, and this is the podcast about slot machine casino gambling. It is where I provide knowledge, insights, and tools for helping you improve your slot machine gambling performance. In case you missed it, on my last episode, I went over whether using a Players Club card matters to winning on slots in my weekly live stream Q&A session on YouTube. Further, I reviewed Oregon slot machine casino gambling in 2020. I hope you enjoyed listening to my last episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Here's the audio recording of my latest live Q&A session. Hello, everybody. Hello, slots enthusiasts. How are you? It's great to hang out with you again for another Professor Slots podcast episode and live stream. Today, we're going to be diving into a quick rapid-fire Q&A session, and that's coming up. Let's see. Lots of activity here today. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Make sure you are saying... if you're here during the live stream, make sure you say hello to everyone in the live chat as usual. Let us know where you are at and where you play slots. I'll check in with the live chat in a few minutes, despite the activity of going on. Hi, Brian. And see if I can't segue our way into this properly. And as always, make sure you ask your slots-related questions, particularly today, because of our rapid-fire Q&A session that we'll be having shortly. We'll see how rapid-fire it is, given my tendency to sort of explain things a little bit too much, or, well, not too much, but perhaps not rapid-fire. We'll see what rapid-fire is for me. Hi. My name is John Friedel. Welcome to Professor Slots, a channel that's all about mastering casino slots so you can win your way to success. If you've ever walked into a casino, looked around and wondered what's going on with slots and more, I can help. Thanks again for joining us today, whether you are listening on the podcast, watching this video later, or here with us on the live stream at noon Eastern Time each Saturday. I'm glad you're all here. Today is Saturday, July 11th, 2020, and this morning, the American Gaming Association's live casino tracker shows 839 U.S. casinos have reopened. That's out of 989, just under 1,000. And that 150 remain closed. So another 12 casinos have opened in the last week. We're up from almost 84% last week to nearly 85%. So we've jumped 12 out of 1,000 is 1%. So we basically jumped 1%. The question that I sort of have is, and they don't really do this on the tracker, is how many of those 150 casinos that remain closed will never reopen. So I don't know what that number is. I have heard individual reports from the different Facebook groups how some casinos are never going to be reopening because, it's their local casino and they know. So if you want to see for yourself as far as what is shown as open by the AGA's live casino tracker, I have created a convenient link out of the very long link that they have to go directly there. It'll take you directly there. It's professorslots.com/tracker. So that should be easy enough to remember. Let's check in with the live chat to briefly say hello. Let's see, I was here early and I chatted with a few people, so that is somewhat out of the way. We have some questions that were put in, and that's great. Let's see. Oh, Denise is here. Jan is here. Joe, and others. Two Brians. But I'm trying to be less of a meet and greet and just trying to get into what you want me to talk about. So we have we have a good question from Brian, which I will see if I can cut and paste that to drop it into. Got to find an easier way to do this so we can get to that. I'm going to try to do these things in order. But thank you for that question. If you have a question, as Al mentioned, please put it in the live chat if you are on the live chat, and we will. I'll get to it. Hopefully, got a full show today. Maybe more questions than I can answer, but if I make them shorter, shorter answers. Let's see, and Steve just got back from Las Vegas, which is great. Some pictures there that he's been showing on the Facebook groups. So I wanted to say hello and did, trying to move that along. I've spent 15 to 20 minutes on it in the past. But thank you for being here. That was excellent. My intent with these live streams is to answer your slots related questions. Questions come to me from all over the place, like all the places where you might be hearing this now. So this week, you can email it, you can call it in 702-90-SLOTS. You can, put it in the Facebook group. And if you're on the live chat, then you can put it there. You can even put it in YouTube in the comments section. Comments are great. They show activity on the YouTube video over time. We got some good comments from the last one a week ago, and that helps spread the word and helps us grow, which is to both our benefits. So this week is my 33rd weekly live stream. And rather than pick a specific slots related topic that I've covered elsewhere and then dive into it here to answer questions or provide extra information about it, today I'm offering a rapid fire Q&A session. Now this is my first official rapid fire Q&A session, so we'll have to see how it goes. Ask your hard or easy questions and I'll answer quickly or try to answer quickly, then move on to the next question. Remember, it's only an hour long show. So we'll see how this show format goes. I do hope for this sort of thing occasionally to have a rapid fire Q&A session occasionally. Just still, it's our 33rd weekly. Didn't miss a week. I wonder how long that's going to last. I know people who are like, well, I've been going weekly for 12 years now. And I'm like, geez. We'll see how this format goes. It's been changing a little bit, growing, learning, technical difficulties to start. Just what does this button do? Oh no, I should not have done that. Just getting started on time and not meandering too much, despite my tendency to do so. So this should be interesting to try this approach, and we shall see. Go ahead and ask your question in the live chat. And if you're here doing a live stream, or send your question to john@professorslots.com, where John is spelled Jon. Let's get into it. Question number one I have actually came from Jan from Texas. She's in the live chat. I'm, always pushing the technology, and apparently putting in a comment into this live stream prior to the live stream starting. This link has been here for a week, right? I make it shortly after the last live stream a week ago, and you could comment. But apparently YouTube deleted it. It was there at 10 o'clock this morning, but now it's not. So I made a copy of it, luckily, and I just put it back in a moment ago so everybody can read it. And Jan's question from this morning in the live chat was, when there are 1,200 slot machines, how do you find the two or three paying slots in the casino? So I see that I have a question. I want to make sure I grab that. I gotta still work out the details of what I need is an assistant, but I can't pay anybody yet. So let me just put that away so I can come back to it. I got to make sure I don't miss questions. I've had that problem in the past. Right. So question. when there are 1,200 slot machines in a casino, how do you find the 2 or 3 paying slots, the winning machines? And so, Jan, yes, that's a great question. I think a lot of people have this question in one format or another. How do you win? How do you find a winning slot machine? All right. So that's not precisely your question. So this is going to be, unfortunately, I had a chance to write some stuff down, and this is going to be a little bit longer, a little less rapid fire. All the other ones that I have collected are shorter, sometimes much shorter answers. But I wanted to go through this because I think it's like a central question that a lot of people have. Come to my show. How do you win? It seems like a central question, right? So even if you we'll make the assumption 1,200 slot machines in a casino. Even if a casino has only a few hundred slot machines, that's a lot of machines if you want to play each one. And that's where people get stuck. The casino may have 1,200 slot machines, but they don't have 1,200 slot machines you'd want to play based on your own preferences, whatever those preferences are. It's like buying a car. I do these analogies, pull them out of the air. It's like buying a car. Every car is potentially available to you as a purchase, likely new or used. I mean, what other choices there? New or used, right? There's hundreds of options, even before you get into color choices, leather seats or cloth, or any of the other automotive choices. So when you look at these, when you think about these 1,200 slot machines, and you might feel overwhelmed by figuring out which one matters or not, all of those, let's see, a piece of software running in the background that might have been interrupting here. All those 1,200 slot machines are not the same. And this is where your preferences come in. That's my answer to your question. I'll say it again. Not all 1,200 machines, not all 1,200 slot machines are the same, and your preferences matter when choosing which to play. Now, this is where the long answer starts to come in. That was the short answer. Do you understand how radical an answer this is? I mean, this has been the central preoccupation of my getting a business started on this. I don't mean just you, Jan. I mean any of you listening or watching now or later. Slot machines are no longer entirely random. They're random in certain ways and not random in other ways. So it used to be pretty much entirely random, but not entirely. But I'm not here to give you a slots history lesson. We'll save that for another time. Yes, there are usually up to 3 paying slot machines in a casino with 1,200 slot machines. There may be less. We've talked about this and why, but let's get into it. Not to confuse the issue, some casinos offer quick winning tastes when you first sit down at any slot machine, which you can take advantage of by collecting it and moving on. But other than that common casino business practice, I'm finding it about 1 out of 3 casinos so far, we're looking at up to 3 winning slot machines in a casino. All right, if we don't use that, we ignore that method. Right, I'm to make sure I have another question, I think I want to grab. I got to figure out a better way to make this easy on myself besides an assistant, which I can't afford. Right. So besides ignoring casinos offering tastes, let's recognize what else we're ignoring. When I answer this question, we're ignoring good record keeping. We're ignoring player clubs. We're ignoring money management techniques and more. Those things matter, but those are other ways to win, but not the direct towards the question of which slot machine should I pick. So let's just look at finding those winning slot machines and ignore everything else. What's your bankroll? Okay. if you're going, and I have to explain the word. I had a question before about using these terms that I'm kind of gotten used to, but some people haven't heard them before. Bankroll cycling will be another one in a moment. What's your bankroll? Right? How much is your bankroll? If you haven't heard that word before, it's the amount of money you've brought with you to the casino to bet. Whatever that amount is, from free slots play from the casino to a couple $1,000, take the amount of your bankroll and divide it by 100. All right, this gets back to one of the questions that was asked a moment ago, but we'll get to that. Hopefully, it'll answer it, and I'll come back to it. But take your bankroll, the amount that you would take to the casino. It might be a usual amount that you take to the casino. It might be the amount you take one time only, but divide it by 100. That's your maximum bet. If your bankroll is $50, then your maximum bet is 50 cents. Okay, so a maximum bet is when you press the button to make the bet on a slot machine, that's how much you spend. So it's a 50 cents is a 2-credit bet on a quarter machine, or it's a 5-credit bet on a dime machine, or it's a 10-credit bet on a nickel machine, assuming your casino has those. Probably has a quarter machine, may not have a dime or nickel, depending on the casino. It would be a 50-cent bet on a penny machine. All right. So with your choice of a $50 bankroll, you've just eliminated most of the slot machines in a casino. All right. It's not 1,200 slot machines anymore. If your bankroll was 10 times that, say $500, then your maximum bet is divided by 100 is $5. That still eliminates a lot of those 1,200 slot machines. For instance, you could make a 1-credit bet on a $5 denomination slot machine in the high limit area of the casino, but you couldn't make a 600 credit bet on a penny machine because that would exceed that minimum bet value. So depending on your bankroll, and plenty of those 1,200 slot machines are ruled out. So what's next? Let's rule out more slot machines in order to get down to the winning slot machines. So how do you do that? Well, sometimes when you're trying to find something like a winning slot machine, one of the things you can do is like reverse the question and say, how do I avoid losing machines? All right. So there are machines where there's a subtlety here, but if you were to play it, you'd lose. Okay. There's more than one way to lose, by the way. So let's avoid the machines that you would lose on. To be specific, let's avoid slot machines where if you won, the wins would be too small to really matter, or you can't win for losing, as the saying goes. So how do you find these slot machines so you can avoid them? Use my slot machine goodness ratio for this. I've explained this before. So here's a link to its explanation in another YouTube video. I'm going to drop that, the other video. Let's make sure I grab that properly. I'm going to drop that into chat and hopefully it'll go through. It did. So this is from Choosing Candidate Slot Machines, a video on YouTube, and that actually will take you to about 3/4 of the way through the video where I talk about the goodness ratio. So I'll put that description, that link in the description and in the podcast show notes, so you'll have that. And it starts just before my explanation of how to do the goodness ratio. But the point here is, or if you're listening and you don't want to look up that link, I created a convenient one like I try to do, which will take you directly to that portion of the YouTube video, and I call it professorslots.com/goodness. All right, it's a shortcut. Okay, so one of my fears has just been realized, which is that short answers are hard. But I've shown how 1,200 slot machines isn't really that many. It's like managing any big engineering project, if that helps. Another one of those analogies I'm plucking out of the air. It's like managing any big engineering project. Engineers and engineering managers call it eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time. So without too much work, 1,200 slot machines becomes maybe 600 slot machines because of your chosen bankroll size. Then maybe half that is, you reduce it by half, maybe to avoid progressive slot machines, which have their own approach, specialty. Then the my goodness ratio, rules out a bunch of others. Until you're down to about 100 or so slot machines. All right. And this when it starts to become manageable. From there are more steps to get that 100 or so down to a handful of slot machines. And that's what my winning slot strategies are for. Again, everything changed with central servers. It may seem like a lot of work to do this, but frankly, it isn't. Half the work is done before you even arrive at the casino. What's your bankroll? And the rest is only done once. Well, call it once a year. An assessment done once a year because you might get new slot machines or something else might change, like the casino might get a new owner. So I would say it's only like once a year. Watch for the new stuff and make adjustments as the casino works hard to help you. But the reason I spent so much time on this question is to point out what many long-term slots players, why many long-term slots players hate me. Slot machines aren't random anymore. They aren't fair, you could say. Now, with central servers just about at every casino, they're picking and choosing which slot machines to play matters. It matters if you want to win. So, that's great. That's a good question. Ultimately, it may be the big question to ask in one form or another. I've gotten that question from far more than just Jan. It can be as simple as which slot machine should I play? So now you know the basic approach to finding winning slot machines. I would go into more detail about third on the left on the fourth row from the restroom or something like that. But this is where we start getting into, so what does your casino have? What does your casino do? And I can't really take it any further than that without you going through my 6-week online course, which I'm working on. So that is the first. I should check to see, I think might have some of these questions. I'll come back to them. It's a little interrupts if I try to dig through them right now. But let me get through more of these. Question number 2, second question. Second question is from yesterday, from my Texas Slots Enthusiasts private Facebook group. Cindy asks, is volatility of a slot machine set by manufacturers or by the casino? Does anyone know? I want to make sure I explain the terms because people afterwards like, oh, great, but what was that word? What does that mean? So volatility is a word used to describe how much something changes, high or low. For instance, in finance, it's used to describe how much a stock's trading price changes over time, stock market, lots of ups and downs, but there's this other thing called an average, which is in between. So for slot machines, volatility is most often associated with video poker. That's where it gets a lot of use. So I'll just talk about poker, not video poker. Let's make it a card game and not an electronic device. So for a card game, some games of poker, and there are many, have rules where people win or lose quickly, like Texas Hold'em, all in, everybody. And other games of poker have some bets and pots so that the game lasts hours before there's a winner. Volatility is basically a statistics term. For slot machines, it's about how often you win and lose, and how big your win is when you do win. So another way I put this would be my what I've explained as 2 odds of winning. First, the odds of winning that's calculated when you play the slot machine, when you first push the button, is if you win. And the second thing that happens right then when you push the button how much you win. So that's 2 odds of winning. So for example, since casinos have reopened, we've seen some Oklahoma casinos offer their slots players lots of wins on their slot machines, but few of those wins are anything like large. They're much smaller than they were before the pandemic. Yet slot enthusiasts are happy because they are winning jackpots. And the casinos are happy because they need to make money, perhaps more than usual. Yet it's a win-win scenario for both. And how did that happen? There were settings on the slot machine. So the answer to this question is this. Slot manufacturers offer a bunch of settings for casinos to choose from. And that's exactly what the casinos do based on their business needs as well as the gaming regulations. In fact, you can set the slot machine to win almost every time you press the button, or frankly, about as often as you might potentially be struck by a lightning bolt. Both of these settings are quite possibly illegal in your state if your state regulations or tribal state gaming compact have a theoretical payout limit, sometimes a maximum, sometimes a minimum, sometimes both, sometimes none. So it's important to know what your state does. That means casinos often can't use every possible setting that the slot machine manufacturer provides. It might be illegal, as I said, or it might be a terrible business decision, right? Some casinos, when they reopened, just took people's money, and people had a terrible experience and didn't come back. And that's a poor long-term business decision of the casino. I would say it's a poor long-term business decision. We've seen that time and time again, and then they have to win back their players that they drove away. And what's the odds that they'll get every one of those people back? Not so good. So question number 3. And I guess we're really moving now. The first time was 20 minutes, and the second one was only 10 minutes. Let's see how fast we can go through some of these. So the question I got last time, what is bankroll cycling? Basic concepts we should talk about so you understand when they're happening and how useful it is for certain gambling goals. So it was surprising to me that newcomers to slots and some of those who have never played slots think that slot machines are set so that players never win. That it's a commonly held belief. I don't know quite where it comes from. I have an idea, maybe, but people think that the player win percent is 0. Maybe they meant bankroll cycling, a term I used on the last live stream, which I got questions about afterward. The question was, what did I mean by bankroll cycling? Well, let's say you're playing a slot machine with the player win percent of 90%. Its volatility is extremely low. Well, let's say that's the slot machine we've chosen. Its volatility is extremely low, which isn't how statistics work in the real world. But let's say that you have exactly 90% of your bankroll remaining once you've bet the initial bankroll. All right. Let's say you have a $100 bankroll and you, right. So say your initial bankroll is $100. You pick a slot machine, which has a 90% return, and this unrealistic one where it's exactly 90%. You bet the entire initial $100 bankroll. All right. Maybe you bet it $1 at a time. In any case, you bet the entire initial $100 bankroll and you have 90% left over. And that's $90 of that initial $100, which is where the 90% win comes from. So you won $90. You spent $100. You won $90. Sorry if you all get this very well, but there's some people who don't. So this is one cycle of the bankroll. Spent the $100, won $90 before by the time you'd spent the $100. And so that's the first cycle. Let's say you continue with your $90. All right. You take that $90 you have remaining that you won, and you still have the player win percent of 90%, and you end up with, well, what's 90% of $90? It's 81%. Excuse me, $81. So that's the second cycle of the bankroll. First cycle, $100, ended up with $90. Second cycle started with $90, ended up with $81. And note that the amount of the bankroll has decreased. If you're still cycling that, but you're still cycling that smaller bankroll. And after 2 cycles, you've spent $100 in the first cycle, $90 in the second cycle. So in total, you've spent $190 and have $81 left. Okay, let's say you continue cycling your $81 bankroll. How many cycles would it take for your bankroll to drop below $20? And how much would you have spent total? I've done the math, and it'll take 17 cycles to drop below $20 if you start with a $100 bankroll. And you would have spent just over $800. $800. All right. For an initial bankroll of $500 instead of $100, $500, it would have taken 32 cycles to drop below $20, and you would have spent nearly $5,000. For an initial bankroll of $1,000, it would have been 39 cycles and nearly $10,000 spent. All right. So imagine the number of comp points. Imagine you're not using your player's club card and you're not earning points of 1 point for every dollar spent, perhaps. That's 10,000 points you didn't get with your $500 bankroll if these conditions are met. And they're unrealistic because it's never precisely set to a 90% exactly. But this is what the statistics show, and it gives you an idea just how much. I mean, let's say, you won $500 of your, first bet on your $100 bankroll, and you won $500, and now you got, $600 bankroll. So, things like that can happen. And you can go a while without winning anything. So that's the volatility we had back in the previous question. So it's halfway through the show. I'm going to quickly check to see if I'm missing anything in the live chat because I have asked for questions. Nico, welcome from aloha from Honolulu. I saw you wanted to join the Hawaii Slots Enthusiast Facebook group, and I approved you. Welcome. Glad to see you here. Thank you for all the hearts and the thumbs up. Chuck says, Chuck's here. We have regulars to the show. If you're not a regular to the show, we have regulars to the show. And sometimes they have side conversations in the live chat. And I don't know, Chuck was asking about Chip. And I didn't see Chip in. He wasn't here earlier. I think the most recent conversation with him, I emailed him a lot, was this morning. He didn't say he wouldn't be here. Maybe he'll show up before the end of the show. Nigo says, too much math. It's only 6:30 a.m. in Hawaii. I apologize. I apologize for too much math. I held back. A lot. Right. So, what else do we have here? Need to do something in here. Yep. Great. Okay. Question number 4. How often do I go to the casino? When I was learning my methods, before I even started my book or even considered starting my Professor Slots business, I was going for about 3 times a week, playing high limit slot machines. My bankroll was around $2,000. Sometimes I'd take $1,500, sometimes I'd take $2,500, but let's say roughly on average around $2,000, 3 times a week. It helped that I was winning. But once I won the car, I won a car. I wrote it up on my website if you care to know about it. I kind of deliberately saw the advantage play and went in and won it. Despite the odds, odds were pretty good. But in any case, that's a topic for another day. Once I won the car and decided to write the book, as well as start this business, I've switched over from personal slots play to going to casinos to help you. These days, my initial bankroll is between $200 and $500 when it's not a nearby casino. And if I go to a nearby casino, sometimes I'm using the slots play. What it usually means is that if I've never been to that casino before and haven't been a member of its royalty program, I don't have free slots play. But sometimes I go to a nearby casino in Ohio. It has some of the best odds, usually monthly odds return statistics for the states, and it happens to be not too far away. So I am a member, and even today I got a $50 free slots play. I usually go there to spend that and try to learn anything new that might be coming out. It's better for me to go to a bunch of different casinos because one casino may not get everything, but that might be coming out as far as new technology. But it's a pretty tries to stay on top of things, small casino. And so I go there to check out for the new stuff and to spend my free slots play doing so. It's high limit room is fine. I've been in it. I've done very little of it, and there in that particular high limit room, I figured out how to win there. But it's you are not all high limit players, so. So I go in and try to do stuff that what I would learn. Right. So the chat's a little distracting today. Assistant is a fine idea. Okay. So either way, I've done one or the other, the local casino or another casino that's farther away that I've never been to do a casino review. I've done one or the other of these trips about once a month, although I have entirely skipped the pandemic. That wasn't entirely my choice, as I was dealing with some busyness from my day job, which got in the way of going to casinos. That shouldn't be a problem in the future. And I'd like to, things have changed. So, I'd like to get my casinos trips up to twice a month. It takes time to do a live stream and record videos, which are coming, and do other things with the website and the podcast. So I think my schedule would be not too hard to do 2 a month and answer the questions and all the things that go into doing that. Maybe one local and to check for anything new and interesting, and another for a trip to a new casino somewhere else. Now, as I mentioned last week, I'm in Ohio, so I've got 7 different places, north, south, east, west. Canada is not, on the other side of the river, St. Clair River from Detroit, so that's an option. Caesar's Windsor. And so there's maybe 7 different things I can try. And I want to go through some of those before, I start having longer trips to like the 4th of July traditionally is Las Vegas for me, but I didn't go this year. That's when I like to go, but I don't usually gamble because it is a major holiday, and that's when California shows up. And I'm very leery of trying to win when Las Vegas darn well knows there's a whole bunch of people that come once a year, and they turn the odds down for holidays and weekends. And I wrote something up about that as well. So another good question. In the chat. So I will answer that in a moment. So I'll write up these casino trip reports for as reviews and write them up and show them, put them in podcasts and et cetera. And I'll see if I can't do something live from the parking lot or some, video that I record and try to do a good job at that. I've done some things in the past, and I've sort of down selected how the best way to do some of the stuff, but it'll start by writing something up, and it'll also have videos, and you'll see on the podcast. So as I do more of those, I'm looking forward to them, but the question is, of course, when. At this point, that's all about dealing with the pandemic. So, let's see, I want to make sure I don't lose my place here. Okay. So Nego says, "Do you think high limit room have better odds?" No, that's a myth. I've written that up in my 7 advantages of payout percentages, 7 benefits of payout percentages. It's one of my articles that you can look up on my website under learning options. There's a bunch of articles under learning, and there's a bunch of articles under strategy, under tribal, and so I have some categories, and that's one of them. And under the 4th subsection, it says myths of payout returns, and I don't have to think. You ask me, do I think high limit room has better odds? And I don't have to think, because 5 states provide return statistics by slot machine denomination. All right. So we can see what actually happens in 5 states. Some states just have return statistics, but it's not by denomination, some by casino, some by region. But there are 5 states that provide slot machine denomination return statistics. And you can just look at them. About half of them have the best odds are on $5 denomination or more. Half of them are penny machines or nickel machines or dime machines. So do I think high limit rooms have better odds? Half the time, the data shows half the time they do and half the time they don't. That's the answer to that question. Scott says, order my book. If you haven't, it's really good. Thank you. I appreciate that, Scott. I have a book on Amazon. I'm still not sure if I can even say that Amazon takes 70% and I get 30%. I think I'm not supposed to say that. I should look that up at some point and stop saying it if that's the case. It's under $20. There is a print on demand, so you can get the paperback. There's one over in the corner. I don't see one handy in front of me. Don't want to go for a walk for it. And paperback is available. Also, you can get the ebook. And I just finished a month or so ago the audiobook. So all 3 are available if you go to Amazon.com. The book is called Learning to Win by John Friedel, and it's How to Make a Profit at Slot Machine Gambling is the subtitle. So you should be able to find it pretty easily by looking up Learning to Win. Please. So I have another question. It's a short one. But I'll come back to the other questions that were asked. When will my online course be available? Since we're talking about books and things that I'm selling, I'm not trying to make this a sales video. When I do a sales video, you'll know it. But I do want to mention that, as a resource, I have written a book that talks about all my winning strategies and also how to identify your gambling goals. And further, something I haven't written up that I need to is basically the gambling style. And that's a bunch of articles I haven't yet put on my website, and but it is available in the book, and that's about the only place you can find it right now. So those are the things, and it's really the history of how I got started and what it was like to win a car and practical things about that. And feel free to enjoy. It's one of the first things that I did. Some of my articles will go into greater depth, and some of the thoughts that I have lately, based on questions I've gotten from you guys, will explore some of those ideas a little bit further. But if you want a comprehensive approach, what I did, it's in the book. And so I am starting an online course. Rather, I'm starting to start an online course, but I have gotten started, and that's the good news. And the not so good news is that it's going to take months to have it ready for you. This amount of time is pretty typical, and for an online course, it should, what do I know, in fact, about it? And I expect it to be a 6-week course. I expect to put it all together and then have what's called a beta test, where I have people that have already volunteered go through it, and it'll be for free. But the request that I would have is to give me feedback. Is this a clear explanation? Is this not a clear explanation? Do you feel like I should move the order of explaining this first or that second? And sort of fix it once I put it together the best I can, and then get feedback from this group of beta testers, some of which are here, and we have enough of them, and they go through it over 6 weeks. So right there, that's just over a month. So I figure probably be available for, correct all that stuff will take another couple of weeks, maybe redo some of the videos and other reference materials. So probably 4 months before the beta group runs through it, 2 months after that to fix things. So 6 months, I'll see if I can pull it in. I haven't really scheduled everything bit by bit, something like that. And then it will be available. Let's see. I wanted to, I had questions that I pulled from the live chat. Let's see. Let's just go through those. How long should I spend at a slot machine? This is something that I skipped over when I talked about taking your bankroll, dividing it by 100. All right. A systematic approach instead of just going by feelings, which sometimes works. It depends on how good you are at intuition, how long you've been playing slot machines. But if you haven't played slot machines, you might not have much of that. So I'm going to assume that you're just looking for a systematic approach. How should you spend on a slot machine? If you have 100 bets to spend, right? Your bankroll divided by 100, and you bet that amount, whatever the credits is, whatever the dominations, $500 bankroll, you bet $5 bet, make 20 of them. You can make 100, make 20 of them. If you don't win anything, move on. All right. This is often why I sometimes will use the number 120. Divide your bankroll by 120, because if you sit down on a machine and you don't win anything for 20 bets, then you're down to 100 bets, and it gives you several slot machines you can try. Now this gets really expensive if you just randomly choose a slot machine. So you want to do all the work that we talked about, where you would down select from the 1,200 to have a better selection and choose slot machines and make good choices, because otherwise you're just guessing a little bit too much. So make 20 bets. Did you win anything? If you won not a single thing, not a quarter, not the smallest possible win, if you won 0, walk. And you might not even wait 20 bets before you do that. All right, go to something else. That's not what you're looking for. Well, just give it a chance. No. If it's not doing anything in the first 20 bets, definitely walk. Might even do it sooner. All right. Now, if you get a couple of wins, that's where you start at, no wins, walk. Maybe before the 20 are up. If you win a lot in the first 20, stay. All right. Now we're into the in-between amounts. Let's say that you make your 20 bets and, let's say that was $100 and you made $21 bets, right? And you still have the $100. All right. Is that a winning machine? If you aren't losing, is not losing a winning machine? Well, it depends on your gambling goal, right? If you want comps, you need points. And how do you get points? By spending money. But if it's giving you just enough to pay you back what you spent, oh man, you could be there for hours. Cycling bankrolls, cycling, spending $10,000 and winning $10,000, $1 at a time. All right. Don't drink too much because you don't want to have to go to the restroom and leave the machine. All right. Hope you had a good meal because you could be there 12 hours. You cycle bankrolls and meet your gambling goal if it's to earn comps. Now, if your goal is completely different, if you are there to make money and you put $20 in, you win $20. You put $20 in, you win $20. That's a waste of your time. I mean, unless you've got a secondary or third goal about, well, I could use a few comp points or something, but if you're just there for the money, it's not a winning machine anymore. So if you are winning something, you have to decide, is it enough? Could you do better elsewhere? Could you make better use of your time? If you want to leave, you'll know after 20 bets. You'll know definitely after 20 bets, maybe even sooner. But if you want to stay, okay. And we can get into some of those choices that you can make. What changes in jackpots and payouts, if any, has anyone noticed at casinos reopened? I tried to cover some of this when we were doing casino reopenings. We basically, what are the choices available to the casinos? They can change the odds. A lot of people are concerned that they would just shut it down. They would, nobody's winning anything, but they can't do that for very long because people won't come in. And that's a long-term problem. Now, they definitely do that, but others are smarter about it. And that can happen anytime. It doesn't have to be a pandemic. And it's some internal process where they think one thing and another thing happens, and they always learn the hard lesson. Now I have to pay things to win people back. But tribal casinos, that's basically what happens. But if you have a commercial casino, sometimes they're preparing themselves to sell, right? And they're trying to make themselves look attractive to a new buyer. And so they'll make everybody win a little bit more, and they'll, talk about to the new potential buyers about, hey, look how many people just come in and just, we're just busy every night, and, helps their numbers to make them more attractive. And so, after this pandemic, we seem to be getting like two different responses, depending on which casino. And that's what you got to watch for. That what I've said in the past here is if you go into the casino, just wait. All right. Just walk, look around. Is anybody winning? Anybody? Do you hear a jackpot, roll up, ding, 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 ding? Do you hear anything at all? When it's silent, there's people there and it's silent. Maybe they're talking, maybe they're chattering, whatever. But if there's no jackpots being won, no slot attendants, ask a slot attendant, hey, if you paid out a hand paid, since you started your shift 4 hours ago, this is what you ask. And if nobody's winning, how do you expect yourself to win? On the other hand, you go in and people are winning everywhere. And it's, you have choices at that point. Do you wait for somebody to get off a machine and get on it, within less than a minute so you can have the same odds? What do you do? But then you have choices. So, so sometimes they just take your money and sometimes they do things. The smart thing I've been thinking is smart thing would be to have a win-win situation where, I love winning jackpots, and if they're small, I don't notice. Or I try to notice, and I'm warning you to notice, but hey, I'm winning money. I'm slowly losing money, but I'm still winning jackpots. And that's nice. It's nice. You've been away from a casino for a long time. That's nice. Now it's a fraction of the size it used to be. So, you might decide, I can't win for losing, but, casinos that do that, I think they're satisfying their customers and they're getting the money that they need. Okay. I have one more question there. Let me see what's happening. Jan says in Louisiana, 3 out of 5 machines with highest returns are high limit and up pennies. Nico, you asked, do you think high limit rooms have the better odds? You could just as easily have asked what's the results of penny slots. Penny slots are often the lowest odds. Often the lowest odds of winning. People, they're popular and casinos are taking advantage of that. So, maybe your state doesn't have, and we talked a little bit about this last time. We talked about a lot of this stuff before here and there on the live Q&A, which is what the live Q&A is for. Penny slots, have low odds in some, these states. You can see it. Maybe your state doesn't have return statistics. But if every other state that does have it has low odds on penny slots, what do you think happens in your state? All right. So we can learn from this stuff. So Steve's got some good things to say. Yep. I don't see more questions, just more conversations. Jill says that she's in Baltimore and she uses her free slot play in high limit room, but on the lowest minimum bet she can do, and that's a great strategy. I've met people who use that strategy regularly, and it's not necessarily the minimum bet in the high limit room; it's the one that's most likely not to win a hand pay. Right? They look at the pay table and they say, well, if I bet 2 credits on this $2 machine or this $5 machine, it stays mostly below $1,200. So I don't have to do the W2G, don't get the W2G. Most likely I might make a mistake. I might, win a higher amount. But, instead of having 200 W2Gs a year, they might have 20. All right. And sometimes that's a technique. Now, the people that are doing that, I worry about them because, they may not be paying taxes, but I wouldn't know. I don't actually know, but I think that's the whole point of that approach. The person I'm talking about, not you, Jill, but the person that I was talking about. And I'm not an IRS agent, and you make your own choices. I've made mine. So yeah. Let's see. So Max, have you seen my article on Las Vegas visits? I wrote up an article. Everybody's interested in going to Las Vegas, Nevada, and so I studied the process and explained how to win in Las Vegas for a trip, and basically don't play on the weekends, where the weekend includes most of Friday and most of Monday, because they have to have a weekly. Nevada Gaming Commission has a weekly average return statistics, a theoretical payout they have to meet. But if they raise it for the locals during the week and lower it for the 3-4 days of the weekend, high 3 days of the week, low 4 days of the week, they can come out to make the locals happy and take the money from the people visiting. Basically, that's the short version of this. I have a podcast episode on it. I have article. I have not yet a YouTube video. So getting down to it here, the other question I got from earlier, if you're winning soon after entering the casino, what do you recommend for your remaining time you want to stay there? What I would recommend, what I have been the most comfortable with, the thing I like personally, is to put that money away. Whatever your bankroll is, you walk into a casino with a bankroll, and if you immediately win, say it's easiest really is you still have most of that bankroll and you just won something the size of your bankroll. Put it in a pocket. Put it in one of these. Put it in one of these, these gamble lock boxes, which I'll be doing videos on, shortly, where it's kind of key. You can break it open if you really want to, and leave the key at home sort of approach. I just normally just use a pocket. It takes a little while to get into the habit of deposit only. All right, a pocket, but it doesn't take too many trips before you sort of get into the habit and self-discipline. So I would put it away, and then you're free, right? You're free to take your bankroll and hopefully spend it wisely, but you've made what you brought, and so you won't be a loser for the day if you put that first winnings in your pocket. It doesn't have to be the whole winnings, but I like it when it's the amount of money that I brought to the casino, because I worry less. And I think I do better when I worry less. Okay. Not that I couldn't afford to spend it. I wouldn't have brought it if I couldn't afford to spend it. But if you're asking what I would suggest, that's what I would suggest. Scott, I am not going to share where you put your start money in, where you hide it on your body, because, that in a picture and what casino you go to and what make of model of car you have, is not something I'm going to share with people. Yeah. This reminds me of stories, but we are down to the last minute. Jan says she has a lockbox. It saved her bacon more than once. Okay, so we're getting close to it. I think I answered every question, which is good timing. I want to mention, please join your local slots community on Facebook to get the latest on casino reopenings in your area and chat with others, locals, where you can share your trip reports and see what other local slots enthusiasts are sharing. Every state has a private Facebook group slots community under Professor Slots. You can find them at professorslots.com/FB. Watch more of my videos to improve your slots gambling performance. Have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. This is the second segment of the show on slot machine casino gambling. Here I provide a brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district, emphasizing by far anything of interest to slot machine casino gamblers. Up next is Pennsylvania slot machine casino gambling in 2020. Here goes. Pennsylvania slot machine casino gambling consists of 12 casinos, of which 6 are parimutuel racetracks with slot machines, 4 are standalone casinos, and 2 are casino resorts. Pennsylvania has both minimum and maximum theoretical payout limits. Return statistics are publicly available online. The minimum legal gambling age in Pennsylvania depends upon the gambling activity. For land-based casinos and poker rooms, it's 21. For bingo, the lottery, and parimutuel wagering, it's 18. In 2004, the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act passed. This act legalized slot machines at 14 locations. Of these locations, gaming licenses have yet to be issued for a standalone casino and a parimutuel racetrack with slot machines. Since July 2010, table games are in Pennsylvania casinos. In October 2017, the state legislature legalized casino gambling at truck stops, airports, and online. This bill also authorized 10 new satellite casinos with location restrictions, including satellite casinos of existing casino operators must be within 25 miles of their existing Pennsylvania casino. Further, local municipalities may prohibit such a casino. These satellite casino licenses allow up to 750 slot machines and 50 table games. And racetracks and standalone casinos can have up to 5,000 slot machines and 250 table games, while casino resorts can have up to 600 slot machines and 50 table games. Truck stops approved by their county may have up to 5 slot machines. Casino operators may operate a gambling parlor at any of Pennsylvania's international and regional airports, assuming successful agreements with the airport authority. None have yet opened, but expected in 2020. To gamble within a casino resorts, players must be a guest there. Put another way, the gaming floors within the casino resorts are not open to the public. Next up is a usually short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I have included in case you live in this U.S. state and are considering owning a slot machine. Here it is. In Pennsylvania, it is legal to own a slot machine privately if it is 25 years old or older. The State Gaming Commission is the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board, PGCB. The PGCB is responsible for overseeing slot machines and casino gambling in the state. 2 different state gaming commissions are each responsible for the state lottery and charitable gaming. In this section, I'll discuss Pennsylvania gambling establishments. There are 2 casino resorts, 4 standalone casinos, and 6 racetracks with slot machines in Pennsylvania. The largest casino in Pennsylvania is Park Casino with 3,238 gaming machines during the last week of January 2020. The second largest casino is Wind Creek Bethlehem with 3,406 gaming machines during the last week of January 2020. The 2 casino resorts, 4 standalone casinos, and 6 parimutuel racetracks with slot machines in Pennsylvania are too many casinos to mention here. A complete list and map is on my website for the state at professorslots.com/PA.
Pennsylvania has no federally recognized American Indian tribes. Therefore, Pennsylvania has no tribal casinos as allowed by the Federal Indian Gaming Regulatory Act of 1989. However, Pennsylvania is one of the few U.S. states with commercial casinos operated and owned by an American Indian tribe. First, there's Mohegan Sun Pocono, which is owned and operated by the Mohegan Indian Tribe of Connecticut through their Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment Corporation. And two, Wind Creek Bethlehem is owned and operated by the Poach Band of Creek Indians through their Wind Creek Hospitality Corporation. As an alternative to enjoying Pennsylvania slot machine casino gambling, consider exploring casino options in a nearby state. Bordering Pennsylvania is, to the north, New York and Lake Erie, to the east, New Jersey, to the south, Delaware, Maryland, and West Virginia, and to the west, Ohio. To visit any of my articles on these U.S. states, simply visit ProfessorSlots.com, followed by its two-letter postal designation. For example, my New York slots article is available at ProfessorSlots.com/NY. Are you interested in sharing and learning with other slots enthusiasts in Pennsylvania? If so, join our Pennsylvania Slots community on Facebook at ProfessorSlots.com/FBPA. All you'll need is a Facebook profile to join this private Facebook group freely. There, you'll be able to privately share your slots experiences as well as chat with players about slots gambling in or near Pennsylvania. Again, use this convenient link I've created to go directly to our group on Facebook, ProfessorSlots.com/FBPA. Join us. A theoretical payout minimum for slot machines in Pennsylvania is 85%. Further, the maximum theoretical payout limit may not equal or exceed 100%. Both limits apply to each single play. The PGCB makes monthly return statistics publicly available for fiscal year 2019-2020 for each gaming facility. To calculate player win percent, divide payouts by wagers provided in each report. For February 2020, the player win percent at slots for each casino and statewide are in my website article for this state in the payout return section at ProfessorSlots.com/PA. However, the highest return went to Rivers Philadelphia at 90.5%. The lowest went to Nemacolin at 89.2%, followed closely by Hollywood Penn National at 89.4%, while the statewide average was 90%. In summary, Pennsylvania slot machine casino gambling consists of 2 casino resorts, 4 standalone casinos, and 6 racetracks with slot machines. Other locations should still open in 2020. The theoretical payout limits are a minimum of 85% and a maximum of up to 100%. Monthly return statistics by casino are available online from the State Gaming Control Board. Over the last year, the Sands Casino Resort Bethlehem became Wind Creek Bethlehem, acquired by the Poach Band of Creek Indians through their Wind Creek Hospitality Corporation for $1.3 billion. Otherwise, there have been numerous casino name changes, including Lady Luck Nemacolin became Nemacolin Woodlands Resort. Valley Forge Convention Center Casino became Valley Forge Casino Resort. Mount Airy Resort and Casino became Mount Airy Casino Resort Spa. And Sugar House Casino became Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Part 1 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is a live stream Q&A session on YouTube. Remember, my weekly Q&A session on YouTube is on Saturdays from noon until 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring whatever slots questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. An easy-to-remember link to my YouTube channel is ProfessorSlots.com/live. Feel free to stop by anytime during my hour-long Q&A. Part 2 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is another brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district. Next time, I'll be talking to you about the great U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. That's the end of another episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Show notes for this episode are on my website at ProfessorSlots.com/episode 99. I plan to have the next episode come out very soon for you, where I'll have more amazing content for the show. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye.